All right, let's talk about a huge challenge we're all facing. How do we keep our homes, our offices, our cities warm without warming up the entire planet? It is a massive piece of the green transition puzzle. And the answer? Well, it's probably not what you're thinking. To really wrap your head around the scale of this, just take a look at a country like Ireland. Heating isn't just some small issue on the side. We're talking a massive slice of their total energy pie. In fact, it's often an even bigger energy hog than electricity. That is just a colossal amount of energy needed simply to stay warm. And this is not just an Irish thing, not at all. Globally, heating accounts for a staggering 40% of all energy demand. Think about that for a second. So the bottom line is pretty clear. If we're serious about tackling climate change, we've got to get smarter about how we heat our world. Okay, so what do we do about it? What are the options on the table? Well, turns out there's this really clever solution that engineers have been working on, using waste heat to warm our cities. It's a concept called district heating, and the idea, it's actually pretty simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. So picture this. Instead of every single building having its own boiler chugging away in the basement, you've got one central plant. That plant sends hot water through this whole network of super insulated pipes to heat entire neighborhoods. It's way more efficient and it's all centralized. And this isn't just some theory, right? It brings us to this amazing real-world project happening over in Dublin, Ireland. This is the Tallaght District Heating Scheme, and it's one of the most modern systems of its kind anywhere. And this is where it gets really cool. The heat, it's coming from a massive data center. Yeah, literally the cloud is helping to heat their city. The system just captures all that waste heat that the servers kick out and uses it to warm up public buildings, a whole university campus, and pretty soon, thousands of homes. I mean, it sounds perfect, doesn't it? A total win-win. You're using free, recycled heat to slash emissions. So on the surface, this looks like the ultimate green solution. A total no-brainer. But is it really that simple? Well, as we're about to find out, there's a bit of a twist in this tale. And that's where we get to the idea of a hidden carbon cost. See, to really figure out if something is truly green, you can't just look at what happens when you flip the switch. You've got to look deeper. The tool the experts use for this is called a life cycle assessment, or LCA for short. And it's basically what it sounds like, a full cradle-to-grave checkup. We're not just talking about the fuel it burns. No, we're talking about everything, from digging the raw materials out of the ground to manufacturing all the parts, shipping them, building the thing, all the way to what happens when you tear it down at the very end. So this way of thinking kind of splits a carbon footprint into two different buckets. In one bucket, you've got what's called embodied carbon. That's the carbon cost of just building the thing, all the emissions from making the concrete, forging the steel, creating the electronics. And then in the other bucket, you've got operational carbon. That's the one we usually think about. It's the footprint of actually running it every day. You've got to look at both to see the whole picture. So, the researchers we're looking at today did exactly this. They took this idea and put 3 different district heating systems head-to-head to see how they really stack up. All right, so let's meet our contenders. First up, we've got the waste heat system, just like that cool data center project. In the second corner, a more traditional setup, a natural gas combined heat and power plant. We'll just call it a CHP plant. And our third contender is a biogas CHP system, which basically does the same thing but runs on renewable gas made from waste. Okay, so let's just focus on that first bucket, the embodied carbon. Just building them. What's your gut feeling? Which one do you think has a bigger construction footprint? Is it the futuristic waste heat system or the more old-school CHP systems? Okay, check this out. You can think of these diagrams as the recipe for each system. On the left, that's the recipe for the waste heat system, and on the right, the CHP system. Each little box is a component, a pump, a boiler, insulation, and the lines show the carbon it took to make them. Just looking at them, you don't even need to be an engineer to see that the recipe on the left, well, it looks a whole lot more complicated, right? A lot more ingredients? And the numbers don't lie. This is where it gets really surprising. That waste heat system, the one that runs on free heat, its construction footprint is a whopping 57% higher than the CHP systems. It takes way more carbon just to get it built. So, wait a minute. What's going on? Why such a massive difference? Well, it all comes down to one main culprit, this big energy center that the waste heat system needs to function. And this table here, it just lays it all out.
To build that big energy center, you need more than twice the concrete, a whole lot more steel, and way more of that insulation foam. And every single bit of that material comes with a hefty carbon price tag before you even turn the system on for the first time.
Okay, but hold on. That's just one side of the story, right? That's just the building part. To find the real winner, we've got to look at the total picture, the whole shebang, over its entire 20-year life. So now, let's add in that second piece of the puzzle, the operational carbon. This is the carbon cost of just keeping the lights on, running these systems day after day for 2 decades. And this is where one of our contenders just pulls way ahead. That biogas CHP system, it's a superstar here. Compared to just using regular natural gas, switching to renewable biogas slashes those yearly emissions by almost 73%. I mean, that's a huge deal. So when you put it all together, you take its smaller construction footprint and you add in those super low running emissions, the final verdict is crystal clear. The researchers found that, quote, over a 20-year lifetime, the biogas CHP achieves the lowest overall life cycle carbon footprint. It's the undisputed champion. So what's the big lesson here? What should we take away from all this? Well, first off, green is rarely simple. The full story of any technology has to include how it was made. Second, that embodied carbon, it's this massive, often invisible part of the story we can't ignore. And finally, if we're serious about building a sustainable future, we have to assess the entire footprint of our big ideas, from cradle to grave. Really, this whole analysis gives us a new lens to look through. So the next time you hear about some amazing, game-changing green tech, maybe just pause and ask yourself, what's its hidden story? What's the carbon cost we're not seeing?